Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 25th. I am joined today by my colleagues, Councilmember Mitchell Farrell and Councilmember Joe Buscaino. And we do have one member of the public that has signed up for general public comment and multiple item cards. So, Mr. Previn, if you'd like to come up. So you have 2 minutes for the items, all of the items that you've signed up for, and 1 minute for general public comment.
Well, first of all, the police permit fee jackup program. It says that there's an increase. I was scrolling through. I mean, I looked at some of the substantial fees. I mean, $500 if you got some kind of a massage. Not $795 if you want to have a dance, a public dance, get a permit for that. So I don't know how much they went up because I couldn't find. I'm sure that's in there, but I think it's a best practice to make it clear. And of course, those kinds of fees make it hard for businesses if they have to pull police permit fees that are increasingly expensive. Every fee counts, and it's a significant cost. Item number 7, I've taken note at the foundation coming up with a $5+ million worth of technological upgrades. And one of them, what a surprise, is a Motorola, got to be Motorola. Now, folks, I know that everybody wants to look away when this comes up because I think people believe in competitive bidding here in California in general. And Motorola, there's no doubt, and there's another joint operator, I think it's not LA RICS, but it's some kind of joint powers issue here. Motorola has ripped off the city of Los Angeles, and they've done a decent job of it. I mean, they've done a robust job of it under your predecessor, Mitch Englander, and Harvey Englander's leadership. They really stuck the hand right up and it's very, very bad, okay? So what I would like to do going forward, of course, the LA RICS is not your jurisdiction. You opted out of that program, but you did agree to a MSA, Master Services Agreement, that essentially locks up all the technological stuff going through them for the future. There's nothing really we can do about it, and that is a hashtag violation of the law. So I wish it was a different story. Now, I will say the Fire Commission is doing a great job at what they do in general. Firemen in general and women are honorable folks who try to fight fires. I mean, we all respect that. Fortunately, the political arm of that group and our great mayor and Joe Buscaino there scratching his little tiny head, and Paul Koretz and Catherine Barger put in their snout that it was a homeless encampment fire, a homeless encampment that caused Skirball. Now, we have seen these horrible encampment fires. We've seen the one out in Sepulveda Basin, but that's the different side of the hill. There is no actual, and then Koretz, who sits over here normally, confessed, well, he went out to the site, and it may have been an encampment of one. Although there was no personal effects or nothing. Law enforcement know how to do an investigation in general. So the fact that this has become a phantom encampment, and yet it has gone whipping around the world as an indictment of a group of people who have certainly got the worst possible scenario without a home, and blaming those folks, this city doing that is beyond the pale, and I cannot stomach it, and I will not rest until that's retracted by the mayor and the folks who are going around saying something that is really, really not true. I've also noted that you've done some public benefit trust fund analyses on multiple districts, including, but not mine. So 4, 12, 13, 9, 8, 15. How about C?
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Colleagues, I'd like to send items 1 through 3, number 5, number 6, and 8 through 17 on consent, please, that we adopt that on consent if there's no objection. That'll be the order. We are also going to be continuing item number 4, and at this time I'd like to call item number 7.
Item number 7, Los Angeles Police Commission report relative to the donation of $5,350,000 from the Los Angeles Police Foundation to be used to fund 6 information technology projects.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. Commander John McMahon, LAPD Information Technology Group. To my right is Mr. Peter Marks, the department's Chief Technology Advisor. And to my left is Mr. Jeffrey New, President of the Los Angeles Police Foundation. Thank you for having us here today. I'm here to prepare to answer any questions, but before I do so, let me give you a brief introduction. This would be a good opportunity to thank the Los Angeles Police Foundation for their generous grant offer to the department in the amount of $5.3 million to support the chief's one of the chief's significant initiatives in modernizing the technology of this department. We are looking forward to utilizing this money to fulfill some immediate need solutions that the field officers desperately need, and we believe, due to this generosity, that the approval of this grant will help us fund these immediate needs that will take the form of 8 individual projects that will definitely fit very nicely with our overall strategic plan and put the department in a better position to build better relationships with the community and be more efficient in our daily operations.
Thank you so much, and I also want to thank the Police Foundation for its work in supporting our officers and for providing the support that will help expand innovation, bring 21st century tools to the department. I think it's, obviously it's an overarching goal for us to make these types of investments, so your support to supplement the work that the city is doing is very valued and appreciated. So I want to thank you for that as well. And so I wanted to ask if you could please go over very quickly some of the items that are being proposed for expenditure as it relates to this particular investment.
Well, we've picked 8 particular projects that, like I indicated, would fulfill some immediate needs. The first thing, and I got Mr. Peter Marks to my right, we'll get into any technical details, but the first is the establishment of Wi-Fi in our geographic areas and some other outlying police facilities. Currently, the department has no Wi-Fi capabilities to the extent it does. In some areas, it's funded out of either booster funds or, in some cases, possibly out of the officers' own pockets to get Wi-Fi connections. The second project is our department intranet. It has not been remodeled or resurfaced in well over a decade. It's still a very complicated, old-fashioned style website of a series of file links that's very difficult to navigate, that does not have any encompassing search engine for officers to find the meaningful laws, policies, procedures, information at their fingertips that they need. It's very archaic. Our crime analysis system is somewhat dated as well. This grant will give us the ability to provide state-of-the-art mapping in a mobilized fashion. Right now, currently, most of our mapping and crime analysis is relegated to geographical area crime analysis details, and the only information that's put out to the officers is in the form of a PDF, sometimes electronic, but mostly still in just paper format. We're looking to mobilize one of the most significant visible projects is moving our crime computer-aided dispatch system that is right now only given through the police vehicle over an MDC or over the radio's LMR system. One of the projects to put this particular CAD system on the mobile phones is going to give officers the ability to untether themselves in the police vehicles, where they can now get real-time crime information, 911 calls, and be able to inquiry a variety of different databases using their cellular device without having to return back to the police vehicle. All too often, our officers, if they're deployed on foot beats, or if they're deployed on horses, or if they're deployed on bicycles or motorcycles, if they want to run somebody over the computer to avoid tying up valuable airspace, they will call a police vehicle to them, and that can take an extra police car out of the field for up to an hour just to do basic computer work. The ability to move the CAD to the mobile phone will free up and untether officers to do that. We're also utilizing, and we would like to spend money on utilizing the Samsung DeX program, which is going to actually take that same cell phone and allow it to be used as a CPU, if you will. That will also provide us more mobility and to allow officers to freely work and do their administrative work without having to return to the station behind closed walls where they're not seen by the public. So the use of that will also increase mobility. Lastly, and I may be forgetting one, modems. Thank you, Jeff. Modems, right now we've got very old, outdated modems that are end of life. In order to improve our functionality, we desperately need to upgrade the modems to allow us to get faster connectivity. And then Also, the seventh project is to upgrade our existing desktop computer program. The city was very generous in giving us a sizable amount to update our inventory in terms of desktops for last fiscal year and this fiscal year. But our current inventory of desktop computers ranges up to 12 years old. The current financial contribution by the city is going to get us up to about the 5-year mark, so that will still leave us with a rather aging fleet of a bunch of desktop computers that needs upgrades. This funding will allow us to supplement those older desktop machines with solid-state drives and upgraded RAM memory to speed up these computers. Right now, the officers out in the field are complaining of excessively long boot-up times, and we know that the purchase of this equipment will allow us to greatly expedite the boot-up times and the efficiencies of that computer. And then lastly, the last project is our help desk. Right now, I've got a help staff of 3 people that supports a 13-plus member organization on a 24/7 basis. 3 people, I just told you, we got over 10,000 computers, not to mention all the other technical devices out there. 3 people is not enough to cover that type of ground. This immediate needs grant funding is going to supplement a help crew of about 4 people that we intend to kind of utilize as, for lack of a better term, a Best Buy Geek Squad that's going to go out there and give real-time responses to departments' needs. When computers go down, they're going to actively go out there and repair them on scene. That's a brief overview of how we intend to spend the money.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I do have a question about the beta testing of the mobile products that we were talking about. Has that begun, and how wide scale of a beta test has commenced, if it has?
So it's only begun in terms of the IT organization. Captain Ramos's.
You can
oh, sorry. My apologies. Captain Ramos's Innovation Management Division and Lieutenant Dan Gomez, who I think everybody knows well, have been promoting and looking at the Samsung DeX stations, which basically allow us to take a smartphone, connect it up to a keyboard, monitor, and mouse, and then we can use the Office applications that the department already uses on a PC. They're the same over on a mobile device. It's just that with a physical keyboard and a physical mouse and a bigger monitor, they become much more usable for doing the types of reports that the LAPD do. And so the internal testing has happened to a degree within the IT organization. And then what we'd like to be able to do is we haven't completely sized where we want to be able to go, but we want to go into the report writing rooms at the stations. And the goal here is less around the technology and more about if we can have the officers change how they do things, their user behavior from a reliance today that is completely on desktop computers to less expensive, more capable mobile devices to do the same things, then that opens up a doorway for us to potentially buy much fewer desktop computers going forward.
So then at what point are we scheduling to test some of these applications outside of the IT group and into the field with a smaller group of officers that are going to be asked to transition this behavior?
I think that upon the city's approval of the foundation's grant to us, I think literally within a day, immediately thereafter, we're going to start to order and start to test the equipment.
One of the things we took into consideration in selecting these 8 different projects was our ability to immediately deliver some relief and improve the technology capabilities of our officers out there in the field. All 8 of these projects that were selected with that in mind.
Yeah. My only pause is always thinking about the officers in the field and making sure that we are at least testing a sample before making a widespread investment that then commits our resources going forward in a direction that perhaps may not work. So I just want to assure that we are doing that proper testing with members in the field so that we are not, forcing an operational change that perhaps hasn't been tested.
I think we completely agree. For each one of these projects that touches touches the users, I think for the infrastructure ones, the LTE modems and the Wi-Fi, those are well defined and well understood. But for the ones that touch users directly, we're going through the same process for each one of them, which is to test them internally, test them a little bit more widely, understand the problems that are inherent in each, and then if they're successful, go as far as we possibly can.
Terrific. Colleagues, did you? Okay. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to acknowledge the ongoing partnership with the LA Police Foundation. I met with Chief Moore yesterday. This has been a priority of his, and really advancing our technological efforts in policing in the city of Los Angeles, and to see the commitment continue to be made by our foundation that will help our police officers actually spend more time in the field and not stuck in the report writing room, as I experienced for many years. So I know what we have before us will again look at an archaic system and give the officers, our patrol officers, the ability to be more efficient and effective. And for our constituents and residents that we represent, they'll be able to spend more time out in the field with these types of efficiencies using technologies that are like the ones before us. My question is, as I asked Chief Moore this yesterday, and I've experienced this, with all great intentions of the Police Foundation, the equipment comes to us. Thank you so much. We love you, the foundation. And then what happens when the equipment fails or the type of technology has a hard time? Who's going to be maintaining this type of who's going to be maintaining the software to ensure that over the years it continues to be successful and we're able to continue to apply the technologies moving forward?
So for the most complicated project is probably the Wi-Fi and the networking side of it. And so the LAPD has been working closely with ITA, and we went to ITA and we asked ITA for their recommendations, what they were specifying in terms of equipment. And the agreement is that they're going to do the installation within our universe. And then what will happen is that they will inherit the equipment thereafter and support it thereafter, in the same way that they do with all the rest of the city's computer network equipment. So we're, for the installation, we're completely in parallel. We've asked the foundation to work exactly the same way that the city does. Obviously, the foundation can move much more quickly, but in terms of the equipment and the network architecture and everything else, it's being done completely within the context of the city. The CAD application, which is probably the next most complicated one, is part and parcel of the same offering for Motorola for the Premier One CAD that we're currently standing up within the LAPD. And the software, which is an app on mobile, is currently offered through both the iOS, the Apple App Store, as well as the Android Play Store. And so Motorola will continue to manage the updating of that software as it goes forward. Similarly, for the CAMS replacement project, the Crime Analysis and Mapping System, we're moving to the same city system, which is based upon Esri, that the rest of the departments across the city already use. The founder of Esri, and Esri as a company that provides services to governments and companies everywhere, we're simply going from an obsolete system that's no longer supported, that's not been updated for a number of years, and moving to the current system that everybody else has currently used. And Esri will continue to manage and update. For the smaller projects, things like the SSDs, the solid state drives that are going into the PCs, and the LTE modems that we want to put into the cars, and the DEX docking stations. Each one of those is essentially a commodity item. And so, for example, the components that we want to install into the desktop computers are really just meant to extend the life of the desktop computer so that they can support Windows 10 and be a better user experience. But we expect that they will get replaced in the course of action just like every other desktop. And similarly, the LTE modems, right now we're 3 generations out of date for the modems that are in the cars. And so we're simply moving to the current generation. That doesn't mean that we're changing how we're working in the cars yet, But we expect that what will happen is that they're inexpensive. They're in the tens of dollars, if you will. At most in the hundreds, right? Small hundreds each. And then what will happen is that in the course of action, as the cars get updated and as we move to, different processes and the manual that the LAPD operates under and the procedures and everything else that the LAPD gets updated, that those will be migrated in the regular course of action.
Got it. Thank you.
If that helps. Yeah.
Madam Chairwoman, I just wanted to recognize again the Police Foundation Chairman Jeff New, who's here, and your fellow officers, both Ken and Warren, and all of their board of directors for their ongoing commitment. I know we've been blessed with this partnership over the years, and we tend to get these items that come before us, and without hesitation we approve it. But this one here before us, colleagues, is a sizable amount, and has been a major commitment from the chief to work on this private-public partnership with the foundation. So very commendable, and thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to acknowledge, the Los Angeles Police Foundation for this incredible support and for your years of supporting the LAPD. And I had the similar thought in terms of time. How much time will it now save our officers with all of this updated equipment? So perhaps in the testing, there could be some sort of little data collection, really simple, certainly shouldn't take up time, but in terms of the amount of time they spend currently addressing the issues wherein these technologies would be utilized, and then 3 months later, addressing the exact same issues with the new technology, the time spent per, on an average shift, to actually give us input or feedback rather on what that would look like. That might be very helpful. And just generally speaking, when anyone, in any business utilizes antiquated technology, it actually gets in the way of our work as though we had no technology at all. Like bad technology is worse than no technology.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to seeing how this state-of-the-art, these state-of-the-art tools that the foundation is enabling the LAPD to have will make crime fighting safer, easier, be able to respond more quickly, and keep making progress on our crime rate. That's what it's all about, making Los Angeles safer. So thanks again, and let's see if we can't figure out the time savings amongst the officers who use these new amenities.
Councilman, we also look to not only just get time savings, but increased visibility out there in the community. Because one of as we selected these projects, that was one of the things we took into consideration as well. Not just efficiency, but does it also increase our visibility out there in the community? And with increased visibility, that gives us increased opportunities to establish better relationships.
That's such a great point, because increased visibility, in my view, equals suppression of crime. So I think that's one of the greatest benefits of all, when we can save the officers, so-called desk time. Thanks.
We agree.
Thank you. And I just have one final question on, as it relates, I know we talked about the updates that would be cloud updates that are based on some of the programs that are available on the Android and Apple. But has the department evaluated what other costs may be associated? Those obviously don't incur costs because they're updates. But are there any costs associated with the long-term sustaining of what's being introduced as part of this investment?
Well, as it relates to these specific eight projects, again, one of the things that was looked at is what kind of costs is the city going to incur from these 8 projects moving forward. And outside of some of the items that Mr. Marks addressed, it's very, very minimal in terms of licensing and maintenance, to the extent that any equipment needs to be replaced. They're, for the most part, commodity items, and they fit nicely into our strategic plan that will go into budgetary expenditures leading us into the next 5 years.
Terrific. And I think just to underscore what Mr. O'Farrell mentioned, again, the metrics are very important. I think measuring the success of the time savings that these applications and these efforts are going to generate for officers in the field is going to be valuable. But moreover, the more we document the success of these investments, I think the more it incents others to follow suit and be as supportive for us to continue to advance these technological investments that are going to help our officers and that are going to help our department become far more efficient. So thank you for being here and for the presentation. And again, our sincere appreciation to the foundation for its support, because we, as we have a number of competing financial obligations in the city, this is an important one that is going to help generate far greater efficiencies for our officers in the field. And we look forward to our continued work together and appreciate all the support that's been provided thus far. And so with that, colleagues, I'd like to move to approve the acceptance of the donation, and also due to the long-term budget impacts that will potentially be associated with modernizing technology for LAPD, per the request of the chair, I'd also like to refer this item to Budget and Finance. And so with that objection, that'll be the order. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That clears the desk, Madam Chair.
That clears the desk. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.